to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
I'm Rob. Let's talk about some good old facts.
So, yes, we
good
got
old drama.
All kinds of drama here. This is like, if there was a petting zoo here, the main animal would be the drama llama, because he's here. He's here, the drama llama.
Drama llama.
We got people talking trash. We got people talking stupid things. We got new Giants. We have somebody proposed for a new Giant at that point to be join the roster here. So we got all kinds of chaotic things here to talk about here, plus a Giant gone. So let's get right into it here with the story that pretty much last day or two has been like lighting up on the sports talk stuff here. And let's be honest, the guy who did that, it's what he does for a living. And that's Emmanuel Acho of the Fox Sports here. And I got to be honest with you guys. I don't know a ton of his stuff here. I don't have cable. I haven't had cable in years. The guy doesn't cover the Giants, so I don't pretend to, be the guy that watches every single thing nationwide. No one's got that kind of time. I got work. I got stuff to do, people. But we did see the BS he was spewing here. And let's be honest, we're all talking about him now. He did his job.
100%. That's
his job, guys. Not to give you facts, not to go ahead and present good arguments. His job is to get in the news, to have people talking about him and Fox Sports.
100%. Because the more you look at Fox Sports, the more that they're going to get advertising and revenue.
Oh, yeah. So here's what he said. He said, if the Giants do not bench Daniel Jones, they are admitting they are forfeiting the season. When you walk into an NFL locker room and Daniel Jones is your starting quarterback, you're admitting not just to the 53 players plus the 10 practice squad players, you're admitting to your fans that we are submitting during the course of the season. We are already saying mercy. Acho continued ranting there, talking about the Giants are betraying every single player on the team. He said, you're betraying the entire organization. He said, Daniel Jones is a 0. Wow.
Pretty brutal.
Yeah, now, for a little background on him, from people like myself who, don't watch cable, don't care to listen to talking heads that are there for the ratings, and that's it. It's funny I say that while Rob and I are basically talking heads right now, but we're actually trying to give you Giants news. We're just trying to spew BS here. So Acho spent a couple of seasons in the NFL, mostly with the Eagles. So coincidence there, maybe, that he's talking trash. It was a 6th-round pick of the Browns, and even actually spent some time with the Giants, but on their practice squad. He wasn't a good player. That's not to knock him overall in his football career. He got to the NFL. Most people never get there, so I'm not going to sit there and bash the guy like nonstop over his football career. But he's a guy who spent a couple of years in the league, didn't do too much, ended up on practice squads. Very typical NFL career. Couple seasons, got washed out. So I look at him overall, though, and if we're looking at an honest assessment, is he right? I think you can say he's kind of right, but he's also kind of not. There's a middle ground here, and we're always kind of the middle ground show when it comes to Daniel Jones overall in general. But there's a middle ground here. Should the Giants have brought in a legitimate threat to Daniel Jones' job this season? I think that's the first thing.
Yeah, that's a fair argument to make.
100% fair. Here's my whole thing. I'm going to say it this way even. Not only should they have potentially brought in a legitimate threat for him, but even you can call him an insurance policy given the injury issues that Daniel Jones has had throughout his career. They brought in some of the top prospects in the draft of their quarterback. We saw that during the combine, they spoke to Caleb Williams. They spoke to, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix, like all the big names out there. And then later on in Hard Knocks, they showed that they actually had in for visits Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy, and Drake May. So, they did their homework on those guys. But what I didn't hear anything about, besides the fact of one mention of one of these guys being a target at one point, but not really progressing very far, the top free agents at quarterback at this offseason, guys, not they were great. I'm not trying to say there's a Patrick Mahomes in this mix here, but the top ones were Jimmy Garoppolo and Gardner Minshew. Those are guys that would have been a legit threat to Daniel Jones, which is much a statement of how free agency class was. Daniel Jones is not a typical threat to give him at that point, though. Let's be very frank here.
Well, Gardner Minshew just won the job in Vegas.
Hey, and they mentioned Minshew. He was the one they mentioned at Hard Knocks. So they talked about him as being like the top, like, we wish we can get this guy quarterback-wise, basically. And the money was the issue. So he got a 2-year, $25 million contract from the Raiders. Let's simplify that. Let's call it $12.5 million a year. I can look at the breakdown and see what they gave 1 year, 1 year, 2, whatever, but that's irrelevant here. Let's just say $12.5 million a year. We gave $5 million to Drew Lock. So what you're really talking about here is a difference of $7.5 million, which we easily could have had. Guys, we still have plenty of money we could get right now if we wanted to restructure more with Andrew Thomas, because they only did a small what they could have done with him. We could get more if we restructure with Dexter Lawrence. We have plenty of money to get, guys. And I really think they should have brought in another quarterback that actually would be a legit threat to Daniel Jones. And it's not even me rooting against Daniel Jones. Listen, in a perfect world, we signed this guy to a $40 million a year contract. No matter who you bring in, he beats the crap out of them, and the guy's a good backup for him. That would be the perfect world because you already paid this guy so much money, But you can also look again, Jimmy Garoppolo, often injured, just like Daniel Jones. They'd work well together. Hopefully, won't be healthy. but he signed for a 1 year, $3.2 million deal with the Rams. He signed for less money than Drew Lock got. You're telling me we threw him $6 million, he wouldn't have been a Giant right now?
I mean, you could have thrown him 4.5.
Could have thrown him the 5 to make Drew Lock. I'm just saying, like, I think there was a little bit of malpractice with that move. And it's partially the fact that, I don't want to speak for you, Rob, on this, but I don't like Drew Lock. I never have been a Drew Lock guy.
Wasn't a fan.
So the fact that that's who they decided to bring in, I'm like, really? The guy.
I feel like they got some bad insider info. They're like, oh, look what happened with Geno Smith. The guy was a backup for years and, terrible starter. Goes over, does this crazy story, working with this, quarterback coach, working with this offense. Comes out, he's a average quarterback right now in this league.
Yeah.
So could they have fixed Drew Lock with, half the age of Geno? Tenure, I guess you should say, actually less than half of tenure in the NFL.
Yeah.
So you look at it like maybe that's something we that we thought we could get for cheap, but I don't know. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, and they wanted Tyrod Taylor. That's who they preferred over Drew Lock. They made that very clear. I think, quite frankly, Tyrod Taylor was very happy to be getting out of the Giants organization. I don't think he wanted to stay here. That's just my own 2 cents, the vibe I got. But, it's the Giants could have done more. Point blank, could have done more. Now, at the same point, do you want to sit there and tell them and say that, oh, you did such a piss poor job at this that you gave up on your team and you gave up on your fans? That's taking it freaking extreme. Again, this is a guy talking head on TV, so of course that's what he's going to say. He's not going to be like us and take the middle road, because quite frankly, guys, we could probably get a whole lot more views, a whole lot more subscribers if we took the one side or the other and appease the people that hate Daniel Jones and appease the people that love Daniel Jones. But we'd rather give you the truth and the realistic middle ground, which is where people really are for the most part. Is Daniel Jones is a guy we got to the playoffs with 2 years ago. So if you want to sit there and say you're giving up on this team because you kept him at quarterback, sorry, that's a little bull. But
100%.
if you want to sit there and say the Giants did everything they could to strengthen their quarterback room this year, that's also a little bull. There is middle ground, guys. I know it's crazy. Middle ground. So, now the only legitimate threat, if you want to call him one, that you could even get on the open market is Ryan Tannehill, former Dolphin, former Titan there, who has had no interest this offseason from anybody, guys. Like, has anybody ever heard anything about, so-and-so is interested in signing Ryan Tannehill? No, not one single article I've seen. And part of me wonders, is Tannehill even like semi-retired? And he'd only play if like the right situation came through, like Aaron Rodgers, hurts himself in the first drive of the Jets game again. Like that kind of scenario. You know what I mean? Like that kind of scenario would happen, then probably Ryan Tannehill would go there in a heartbeat and play and hope to, do something crazy in a final season there. Otherwise, I think he's pretty much done. I mean, I'm not so sure a guy like that comes out and goes, you know what, I can't find a job. Here's the Giants. They want me as a backup. And then I'm there, and if Daniel Jones looks bad, I get a shot. Like, I don't know if that's that appealing and enticing to a guy like him,
I think you hit it perfectly on the head. He's looking for a Joe Flacco kind of spot of last year.
Yeah. That's a very good analogy as well. So, and I'm not even sure how much he's in the tank for this guy anymore, to be honest with you guys. I mean, Will Levis beat him out. He didn't look great at times with the Titans ever. Like, he was never an amazing quarterback. But last couple of years, you can definitely see the decline was starting. That's for sure. The decline was definitely starting. So, but the Giants have a better offensive line they've had in recent years. They have a legitimate number one receiver, potentially. I don't want to call him that fully until he plays the game, but potentially they have that. It's things they can do to go help a quarterback here. So again, the middle ground is where we're at of this. He's ridiculous in this hyperbole he's using in this scenario. The Giants could have done more to bring a legitimate threat to Daniel Jones this year. But instead, point blank, they coddled him. They coddled him and handed him the job instead of making him earn the job this offseason. Because that's probably would have been, after the crappy season he had last year, I think that would have been the best thing to do, is bring in somebody like a Gardner Minshew, who I would have been head over heels happy about if we had gotten him, and say, you know what? We're going to let you and Daniel Jones fight it out for the starting position. Winner take all. Because you know what? If Daniel Jones can't beat out Gardner Minshew, then that just tells you that contract was a mistake. He should be a backup this year, stay healthy, and go and move on next year. But if he does beat out Gardner Minshew, it adds validity to him in the locker room. It adds validity to him in his own mind at that point. It adds validity to him in the NFL world. There is no downfall of that kind of situation, guys. Absolutely none. And when you look at the guys they brought in from the draft to talk to, guys, they weren't drafting these guys. Do you think there's a shot in hell the Giants were getting Jaden Daniels? Do you think that the Commanders were really going to not take Jaden Daniels with the second overall pick?
No.
Do you think the Commanders would have traded that pick to the Giants? No.
If it was any other team, maybe, but like, the Commanders have been a terrible team for a long time, and they're new organization, new coaches. Like, they're looking to make changes.
Exactly. So Drake May, do we really think the Patriots were going to go ahead and take whatever the top three quarterbacks were still left?
Yeah, I mean, you
can have no quarterback.
They haven't had one in years, so it's not much of a change.
Like, they had to do something. If you have the chance, okay, let's say hypothetically the Patriots said, you know what? We want the assets. We're going to trade away the third overall pick. If Drake May was a good quarterback in this league, they would never hear the end of it. That's the kind of move that gets a GM fired. Point blank. And for a brand new GM, that's a really bad idea to put yourself in that scenario. So, guys, that was never going to happen. So all we did was waste our time with quarterbacks we had no shot of drafting, except J.J. McCarthy, who, again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, his best move in college was handing the ball off. And you notice who was missing in those rooms in Hard Knocks? Michael Penix Jr. was missing. Bo Nix was missing. Maybe we should have taken a close look at those guys. Maybe there was another meeting we're unaware of that wasn't on Hard Knocks. I'm not under the illusion that every single meeting was on Hard Knocks and we got to see everything that happened this offseason either.
Yeah.
But it's weird that those guys weren't at that meeting. The guys you legitimately had a chance to draft. You only had one of the three.
Yeah, that's
malpractice right there. You didn't do your due diligence potentially on the people you had a chance to get at the most important position.
Just again, like you said, they could have brought in Penix Jr. We just didn't see it. They may have not liked what they had, and they just didn't put it on there to
But why have a quarterback meeting and not include those guys? I would have rather they included those guys than Jaden Daniels and Drake May. That would have been a much more important meeting to have, because those guys you at least had a legitimate shot of getting. You had no shot of getting Jaden Daniels. You had no shot of getting Drake May.
Yeah. We had a tiny shot at Drake, but
if we wanted to give up every single pick for the next 3 years, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Ricky Williams trade would have looked like a minor move compared to what we had to give up to go get Drake May. Like, that's what it is. So I just think, like I said, I don't think it sends the message of we gave up. We're giving up on this year. I don't think that. I think that's ridiculous when you got a guy who literally is, was injured last year and the prior year had gone ahead and led you to the playoffs. I think that's absolutely ridiculous to sit there and say. But it's not ridiculous to sit there and say they didn't do enough to make sure the most important position, not just in football, but all of sports in general as a whole, wasn't taken care of. And I'm telling you right now, if he looks bad, and he looks really, really bad, like he did against the Texans there, and I'm not going to sit there and say that's going to be indicative of everything to do all season long. I'm just saying, if he does, Joe Shane's going to be Joe gone.
Goodbye.
Exactly. And it's weird that Joe Shane wouldn't have protected himself by bringing in somebody else just in case. And again, I'm not even saying talent-wise. I'm also saying injury-wise. Daniel Jones has shown you he can't stay healthy. He's been healthy 1 year. It's the year you got to the playoffs with him. Coincidence, I think. Not saying. But you have to protect yourself. Drew Lock does not protect you. A Gardner Minshew would have protected you.
Correct. I mean, we also know the back end, like, they may have brought in Minshew and he wasn't interested.
Like I said, they made it seem a Hard Knocks was a money thing. They really did. And I think they really wanted the money to go ahead and spend on the offensive line, and I get that part of it. But it doesn't matter who you got blocking if the person out, behind that line can't even do anything when he's upright anyway.
Correct. You're not wrong.
So
I mean,
it's like you need the peanut butter with the jelly.
I mean, you don't need jelly for peanut butter, but
yes, you do. Because it's peanut butter jelly time.
Wait, there you go.
I'm just saying, like, you need both. And they did one, and they prioritized one, and I'm glad they did, because this line looked a lot better against the Texans when they did play together. But he didn't prioritize the most important position. It was an afterthought. Oh, we didn't get this guy. We'll go for this guy. Oh, we didn't get this guy. I guess we'll go to this guy.
Yeah.
No, you do what you got to do to get your guy.
I think you're right. I think they were blindsided on the line, which has been terrible for years. And I mean, like I said, we've talked about this ad nauseum. If they go from like rank 30th to 16, it's a hell of an improvement. Yep. And it's going to go a long way. Granted, how much is DJ going to hurt that? How much, is Drew Lock going to hurt that when they start getting sacked because they're holding on to the ball, they're making terrible plays?
Yeah. I'm just saying, I'm still at that mind. And part of this might be me. And we all know, those who watch this show during the draft, that I have a huge affinity for Michael Penix Jr. I think he's going to be a legit quarterback in this league if he gets the chance to play before he turns 40.
I was going to say, he's going to be in a wheelchair going out there for his first game.
Seriously, but to me, I'm sorry. If if you thought he's a quarterback in this NFL, you should have drafted him. Malik Neighbors may be a very special wide receiver, but if you don't got someone to throw him the ball to, it don't matter. It really don't matter. So, hopefully I'm wrong, and hopefully we're overreacting. Hopefully Daniel Jones goes back to 22 Daniel Jones. But even then, is the ceiling really that high in him? You need better than 22 if you want to win a championship. And I'm sorry, guys. We're the Giants. We're not the Jets. That's our goal, is a championship. We're happy because we got in the playoffs. Oh, don't get me wrong. We're happy, but we're not ecstatic. We're not like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing ever. Whoa, it's not enough for us there. So, but let us know what you think in the comments. Are we crazy here? Did the Giants do enough? Was enough a priority for them? Do they need to go ahead and maybe try to figure something out at the position? Is there even something worth looking at this position? I don't think there is at this point. That's the problem. So,
I mean, we also don't know what happened behind closed doors.
Of course not.
There could have been a part in the Hard Knocks where didn't make anything. It was closed doors before you even started. That you don't know. America said, "I really like DJ. I don't want you guys to do anything unless you got a top 3." And
you know what? Mara wanted to keep Saquon, didn't get his way.
But you don't know. Like, you don't know if Shane turned around like, all right, we'll do everything we can for this year, but if he doesn't make it, he's gone.
Yeah.
And they had a off, camera deal they have with each other. Like, give him this year. You don't know.
Oh yeah, we never know. Not. We never know. So it's part of the frustration sometimes being a fan. So, but Brandon Brown, the assistant GM of the Giants, there was asked about the quarterback market and whether the Giants be looking into one, and his response was, "Why would we be in the quarterback market?" Maybe he wasn't watching the game against the Texans. He had other plans, like a birthday party to go to or something. I'm not so sure. And it was in a press conference he had there this week, and he said that the plan was to stick with the 3 quarterbacks they have. So Pat Leonard, the New York Daily News, said that the exact quote was Brandon Brown said, "When you look at that, I would say no. Why would we be in the quarterback market now?" He asked him if he was okay with the depth chart being Daniel Jones, Drew Lock for week 1, and Brown said back and Tommy. So first off, great news for Tommy. Tommy DeVito is actually part of the plans according to that comment there. But it's part of makes you wonder, like, is Tommy DeVito, first off, is he fully projected to make the starter, or is this them talking about him as a potential guy they can call up as an emergency quarterback or a practice squad guy or something like that? But is it possible, though, that they just think that Tommy DeVito is better than any quarterback that's on the market right now?
That could be a thing, too.
And they're not wrong necessarily. Let's be honest, guys. They are not wrong per se. Like we talked about it, Ryan Tannehill is the best one available. And not exactly great. I mean, that's not really the guy that you're like, oh, Ryan Tannehill, that's the guy. Like, so
yippee.
I don't know. Like, is he, is he really better than those guys? It makes you wonder. I mean, when you look at the guys that are still available, Trevor Siemian, Blaine Gabbert, AJ McCarron, Brian Hoyer, Nathan Peterman. I would rather have Tommy DeVito than all those guys.
Yeah. Forgot about Blake Bortles.
He retired. I'm pretty sure he actually did retire. If not, he should have. But that's what I'm looking at. Like, I don't think there's a single guy in this list besides Tannehill that I sit there and say could be better than Tommy DeVito. And
that's perfect terminology. Could be.
Could be. And that's what I'm saying, because I think Tommy DeVito is still a little bit of an unknown asset. We saw him for a couple of games last year. We saw the hand gesture.
We saw the sauce.
The fun with the family, the agent, all that kind of stuff there. But I don't think we know yet fully what Tommy DeVito is. And we talked about him as a guy that may be developing to be the future backup. I mean, Drew Lock's only on a 1-year deal. So it's not like he's in the long-term plans.
Yeah.
You know, let's be honest. Drew Lock is in that. Drew Lock is in that. He's in that stage of his career where he's a hired gun. He's probably going to go from team to team to team as a backup quarterback for a few years, basically. You know,
Make that money.
it's fine. Yeah, $5 million he made this year alone. He's good.
Did that for 5 years. More money than
make more money this year than most people make their entire life. So yeah, he's fine. But you know, you look at the guys that are available otherwise, like I said, and it's just like Tommy DeVito might be that guy that is maybe a higher up in the organizational plans than we realize. You know, and maybe the plan is, listen, if Daniel Jones falls on his face, which again, we hope not. We're actual Giants fans. We're not rooting against the guy.
Yeah.
But if he does Tommy DeVito then become actually the starter, not Drew Lock, and you just ride with him and see what you got?
That's a strong possibility.
I wonder, really. I really do wonder if that's the plan. Like,
especially after his preseason.
Especially after Daniel Jones' preseason. So we'll see what happens. Yeah,
that's what I meant. As a whole, Danny DeVito's probably looked Danny DeVito. Tommy DeVito probably looked the best.
We always do that. He needs a different last name. There's only one DeVito we've had in our life for all these years.
And they're both from Jersey.
Exactly. Bada bing, bada boom, you know? It's like,
hey.
But yeah, like I said,
they both went to Jersey Mike's last week.
Something to kind of keep an eye on, though, because I'm telling you right now, the vibe I got from that conversation was that the plans for Tommy DeVito are bigger than we realize. And maybe I'm reading too much into this and trying to read into tea leaves, because that's what we get when you get little snippets from these guys. But that's what it tells me, is that there's a plan. There's a plan for Tommy DeVito. And I thought it was to develop him as a cheap backup. But I'm starting to wonder if he's looked at as the guy that if Daniel Jones falls, we'll pop him in there to see what he does for the year. If he fails as well, we get a good draft pick. We draft a quarterback this year. If he looks good, we got a really cheap quarterback.
Yeah. You're not wrong. I mean, yeah, they would have to pay him, though, right? Coming up to next year? 2 years?
Eventually, yeah. But I mean, part of it is when you look at a guy like that is like when you have a 40-year-old quarterback, $40 million quarterback, I should say, that's not playing well. You need a cheap guy to replace him because you can't pay you guys $40 million. Like,
no.
So, you know, we'll see what happens. Like I said, I still think that a lot of this is being overblown because it's one game against a really good team. It's, you know, a couple of drives. It's not like, you know, Daniel Jones has been, you know, we're on week 3 or 4 and he's been horrible. Like if that scenario happens, yeah, we're in trouble, guys. We're absolutely in trouble. But we don't know, you know, how the season's going to go yet. This could be in 4 weeks now. You're talking about remember how Daniel Jones looked so bad in that first preseason game?
Yeah, he came out awesome week 1.
Yeah, like it's football, guys. You never know what's going to happen. And the second you do, it's not going to happen anymore as you think, and you're going to look really stupid. That's just the way the world works. That's just the way the world works, guys. So let's talk about a position the Giants are going to be looking at. And that's corner. So Brandon Brown was also talked about the corner room because, to be honest, guys, the crazy thing is Nick McLeod is probably the veteran of that group now. Since Jalen Mills is gone now.
McLeod.
There could be only one. Brandon Brown said when talking about the group, he said there's a maturation process going on. Want to give the under 24-year-old guys a chance to develop, but we will be aware of any available veterans. Brown also mentioned the story about how they picked up Fabian Moreau a couple of years ago. Remember they picked him up like 2 years ago, and he was a starting corner and played most of the year as the CB2. And a lot of this topic came up because of the fact that, let's be honest, the Texans guys were wide open against their corners. Let's be honest. Yeah. Those of you that watch reports of the Jets and Giants practice they had today with the joint teams, Jets receivers were wide open all day today. In fact, the aforementioned Nick Cloud got burnt really bad on a play that keeps going on over and over again. Again, I'm not going to let one play decide my opinion of a player there. But Nick McLeod, we know what Nick McLeod is. He's an undrafted rookie free agent. from a couple of years ago who has played decent when gotten a shot, but he's never going to be a great player.
No.
He's probably, we talked about this all offseason long, he's probably the second best corner we do have.
But he's not going to the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, but that's saying much worse about our QB room than does say much good about him. Our CB room is just, it needs help. It needs help, and the Giants realize that. So I have a feeling that there's going to be somebody else they're going to bring into this position. That they're doing their homework right now, looking at rosters and who they think is going to get cut. And there's going to be some people coming in, guys. So keep in mind, next week, guys, is when we have to go ahead and go down to our trimming of the roster there. We're going to start adding some pieces there. So, fully expect us to be around next week to give you guys updates on potentially a little bit off schedule based on how things are going. Plus, I'm going to be going on vacation, so you might get the solos of Rob even.
Ooh,
yes, a little solo of Rob because I'll be in Atlanta next week for Dragon Con. So one of the largest cons of the year. So if anybody there is a watcher of the show and happens to see a really, really tall, goofy bastard walking down the hallway at the Marriott, there I am.
like dragon?
That's me. It's me.
Like dragons?
It's not just dragons. It's a nerd con.
Dragon these nuts?
It's every single con you can think of basically rolled into one. So just a nerdicon, I call it, because it's comics, it's video games, it's board games, it's Renaissance people, steampunk people, science in general, people that just enjoy TV shows and such. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So, all right, let's talk about a particular corner the Giants could be interested in.
Who could that be?
And that's J.C. Horn. J.C. Horn, a really talented player. So Empire Sports Media, who runs the Fireside Giants podcast, those guys might be you guys might be a little familiar with them. Suggested the Giants might be interested if it becomes available in Panthers cornerback J.C. Horn. So on one hand, it would make sense. The guy's a former top 10 pick from South Carolina, immensely talented. He put up an 84.1 PFF grade last year. Like, that's really good, guys. He's still just 23 years old. He just turned in a couple months there, 2 months, he turns 24 finally. But hell, he's still younger than some of the guys that got drafted this year.
Yeah.
He's a prototypical size, 6'1", 200 pounds. He's going into his fourth year, and he already had his fifth year option picked up. So whoever gets him would get him for the next 2 years if the Panthers were decided to go ahead and turn around and trade him there. The major downfall, though, guys.
It's going to cost you.
I'm not even talking about that part yet, because that's going to cost you. That's for sure. But he's played in just 22 games in 3 seasons, guys.
Eek.
Yeah, including just 6 last year. So, do the Giants really need another injury-prone player?
Why not? Just fits right in with everyone else.
But that's the thing, though, is you look at the potential, and that's where you get stuck on, because when he plays, he's really good. And if he could ever stay healthy, he'd be a potential Pro Bowl caliber player at one of the key positions on the field. If you listen to what Joe Shane said on Hard Knocks and press conferences, all this stuff, he really looks at the value of the position. And that's why we built up the offensive line. That's why we couldn't get a quarterback that they liked. The 6th pick, they went ahead and got a great receiver in the 6th pick because they value certain positions. They value both lines, quarterback, cornerback, and wide receiver. Linebacker, safety, tight end, running back, not as much.
Yeah.
Like, they're not even hiding it, guys. It's pretty obvious. Let's be very frank about that. So you had the potential to get a guy who has the abilities to be a great corner if he can ever stay healthy. Because of that, you probably wouldn't have to give up as much for him. But let's be honest, you got a guy who puts an 84 PFF grade up and is healthy for all 17 games. He's not available.
No. This could be, but Shane's magic and connections. This could be a Brian Burns decision all over again.
I mean, and that's part of the problem that you got to look at this whole thing too. And I say problem because I really don't want him because of the injuries. But I mean, is you also got that friendship there with Dan Morgan, the GM of the Panthers, and Joe Shane. I mean, these guys like legit get along. Like they go on family vacations together. Like that's how close they are. Like Rob and I don't even go on family vacations together, and we're actually family. So it's like you look at that and you go, okay, well, he probably wouldn't mind doing it with the Giants again because they have a good relationship. But I also look at it like he probably got a little bit of poop on his face there for the Brian Burns deal, because if you watch Hard Knocks, you realize Joe Shane would have given him more if he like Joe Shane like did his friend dirty to a certain degree, and I'm okay with the Giants fan, but he did his friend a little dirty there.
That's a friend that walks up and goes, "Oh, this food tastes like shit. Try it."
Yeah,
like I'll take your word.
So I don't know. I don't know if he'd want to do business with him again after that. I'd probably be like, we need to keep this as friends, and that's it. But like I said, I wonder, because the Giants are going to be desperate for a corner, guys. I really think that they realized that they made a mistake in this room. I mean, again, we talked about it. Nick McLeod got burnt bad today. I still think Banks is in over his head. We've talked about that this offseason. I think he'll get better and kind of be put under fire. But he's facing a gauntlet of top receivers this year, an absolute gauntlet. And he didn't do well in that role last year when he had to, when there was injuries. I'm not sold on him as a CB1. I'm not. I think he's right now a CB2 in this league. Nothing wrong with that. He's young. You need time to develop in that position. JC Horn, if healthy, would be a CB1. It would automatically fix that problem for whatever time period he's healthy for.
Yeah.
But that's the problem, is what do you want to give up for a guy like that? And then you run into the problem of, let's say you trade for him, you're giving up stuff for him, obviously. You really want to give up draft picks or something like that when you're trying to get a quarterback next year potentially in this draft? Like, let's be honest, guys. This roster is not amazing, but it's too good to be bottom 5.
Correct.
So you're going to have to trade up to get a quarterback. You don't want to be giving up assets right now. So unless you plan on trading a player for him, who are you going to give up for him? You giving up Darius Slayton? And that's been one of the talks.
I mean,
I can sense the hesitation here.
The thing is, it wouldn't surprise me because our coaching staff, this management staff, they've done Slayton dirty, and it wouldn't surprise me if they go, okay, let's do it. But they know they need the fans back, and they know the fans also love Slayton. But they're also the same coaching and management staff. They got rid of Barkley.
Yeah, but I don't think the fans even recognize, So, let's put your GM hat for a second. Dan Morgan calls you up and says, Darius Slayton for JC Horn. You doing it?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know how I would react. I'd have to think about it.
Yeah.
Like, part of me is I'm a huge Slayton fan. You know that. Like, I'm probably one of the biggest Slayton fans you'll ever come across. I think he's one of the most undervalued players in the NFL. I honestly do.
100%.
Because look what he's done with such crappy talent around him, with a not so great quarterback, and he's still consistent. 700, 700, 700, 700. I'm telling you, if you put him with a good quarterback and a good wide receiver next to him on the other side, he'd probably be 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. I think he's that good. I really do. I think he's undervalued for what he is.
Yeah, I mean, early in his career, he had some of those drop passes that were right there in his arms, but.
And as Craig said, Hyatt ain't ready. Hyatt ain't ready. I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I don't think Hyatt. I think Hyatt's much more of a project than people realized.
It's probably why he went to the third round.
I think part of the problem he runs into, to be very frank, is the fact that he's so skinny that he's getting pushed around a little bit. So, I like I said, I would have such hesitation. I think my answer, if I would do that move or not, would be dependent on, do I think we plan on keeping Slayton past this year? Because Slayton's a free agent at the end of the year. If I don't think I'm keeping Slayton, I would make the move now and get something for him than lose him opposed to that.
So you got Banks, right? Sorry, you got Banks. You got Neighbors, obviously cheap rookie.
You got Neighbors, you got
right.
Robinson, you got Hyatt, you got Hodge, you got Allen Robinson. You got receivers. It's not like
cheap
you have
receivers.
Nothing. It's not like you have nothing.
But I'm also going to have cheap receivers. So it's like, if you know you're not going to re-sign them next year because you got cheap receivers, then
that's what I'm saying. That's my factor in this. If I plan on signing this guy long term, as of right now, nope, not doing it. But if I think that Slayton's going at the end of the year, and I don't plan on keeping him, I don't want to pay him, then why not do it? Take the shot. But I wonder if that would even be enough. I wonder if they'd want more. And if they want more, I'm not giving up draft picks. Not doing it. I need a quarterback next year, probably.
You have a 7th round.
7th round. All righty, guys. Let's talk about the miracle.
Ooh.
The East Rutherford miracle. Tyrone Tracy Jr. is back to work. Back to work he goes. Hi ho.
Hi ho.
So he's back at camp there, back at practice. And reporters asked him here just yesterday on Tuesday there about the injury he had. He said it was definitely something scary. The doctors took precautionary actions, so I didn't know what was wrong. They didn't directly know what was wrong. They just did what they thought was right in the moment. We were back after everything at the hospital. We were back at the meetings very quick. It was really just because I didn't want to miss meetings. I didn't want to miss any information that was going in. So it sounds like he even pretty much knew pretty quickly that it wasn't nearly as big a deal as they were saying there, I look at like what they did, and they did the move. Like, if you're not sure what the injury is, take the precautions.
100%.
Like, take the precautions. But, he goes off on an air cast and everything. Like, you're thinking torn ACL because that's the Giant way. You're thinking all the worst possible scenarios.
You have an air cast on the wrist, and you're going to say it's an ACL.
He's going to miss one game. That's it. Like, and one preseason game. Who knows if they would have played him if it was a regular season game. So players are now referring to him as Paul Pierce after this. So for those who may be too young to remember or not be basketball fans, Paul Pierce famously left the 2008 finals in a wheelchair, only to return a few minutes later to play again. And he was mocked for it nonstop, and not just the NBA world, but the entire sports world there at that point for the way things went down. So it is pretty funny. And he talked about that as well. He said they were pretty hype for me when I was coming in. A lot of the folks around the building started calling me Paul Pierce. They said I pulled a Paul Pierce, but it's all good. I know there is very genuine love around the building, and I'm happy for it for real. So, I like that they're messing with him, though, because that says people do like him. I tell people that all the time. When I stop messing with you, I stop joking around with you, that's when you should worry. If I'm joking with you, I like you. You're good. If I stop, that means I don't want to talk to you in any way, shape, or form. Exactly. That's the way it is. So, and Tyrone Tracy Jr. looked pretty good there against the Lions in that first preseason game. He's expected to play against the Jets there. So let's see what happens. I'm curious to see what happens as he comes back there. But, that's part of what's missing from that Texans game. I think people, for some reason, are forgetting that too. Like Daniel Jones, now again, not trying to make excuses for the guy, but he goes in there with basically Eric Gray and Devin Singletary, and that's it. They're missing Tyrone Tracy Jr. They're missing Dante Miller. They're missing two of the four-headed monsters, so to speak, that we think there's going to be at the running back position there this year. So, we'll see what happens, see if that helps him, and see if he looks better against the Jets, if he even plays against the Jets. Who knows if he does or doesn't? So, let's talk about the newest Giant, though. It's a brand new Giant.
Ooh.
Oh, yes. He's got that fresh, new, shiny Giant smell.
Nice new East Rutherford smell.
Exactly. and that's Clayton Isbell. So it's another guy we're bringing in towards the end of the camp there at that point. And he was a former Panther. We talked about the Panthers earlier on, the friendship between Dan Morgan and Joe Shane. So Isbell is 6'2", 221 pounds. He's 24 years old. So remember we talked about J.C. Horn earlier being almost 24? He's already 24, this guy. He hasn't played an NFL game yet. He played for Illinois State, Utah, and Coastal Carolina in college. This guy has a college resume that's crazier than some professionals at that point. Last year at Coastal Carolina, 86 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions. All those 3 came in week 1 against UCLA, which is interesting. They have 3 in the first week. You're probably going to have a monster season, and you don't have 1 for the rest of the year. How much of a downfall would that be there for him, you know? But yeah, he was waived by the Panthers last week. So you got to imagine, again, considering the friendship that Shane has with GM Dan Morgan of the Panthers, that he got a lot of feedback and a glowing review of this kid before they signed him there. So it's nice to be able to get a guy, though, from a place that you can trust the feedback you're going to get is actually accurate about him, you know? Here's a scouting report from NFL.com on him. They said long limb down safety whose pedestrian time speed and above average size could force a position change to linebacker. Isbell is quick to diagnose and flow downhill to the action and is a willing hitter. But his pursuit angles and tackle strength both need upgrading to eliminate missed tackles. His coverage background and ball production could give him an advantage when asked to match up against pass-catching tight ends. Isbell might need to earn his way as an undrafted rookie free agent, but has elements to work with as potential practice squad talent. And I think that's what this is, honestly. I really do. I think this is a move to get this kid in the roster so we have first dibs to put him on our practice squad. Next week we drop, some of these players there. And it gives you a week to see what he does in practice, see what he does in the game, against the Jets there, get a little bit of upper hand. But if you're going to take a risk on somebody like that, why not take it on a rookie? Especially a rookie that's been playing out of position, according to what your Reek. So it wasn't just them saying it. I'm giving you guys one scouting report, and I looked at multiple for this, and that's what they all kind of the same thing. Not afraid to hit, decent in coverage, but not very fast, doesn't take the best angles. Well, if you're not very fast, you don't take the best angles, guys, you can't be a safety. That's the two most important parts of being a safety. Taking the right angles and being very fast and covering a lot of ground.
Think fast, be fast. Think fast, be fast.
Exactly. So I think you will see potentially do a move to linebacker. I think they're not crazy there. And listen, with the injuries we have at the linebacker position,
it's not a bad move.
Yeah, it's not a crazy thing to think that they might be picking up a guy to play that position right now. Micah McFadden, Deontay Johnson, Matthew Adams are all week to week right now. So maybe that's the move, is bring him in as the linebacker, give him a week to see how he reacts to that change, so you can make that call if you want to try to get him onto that practice squad and give him a chance to do that. Because keep in mind, as a practice squad guy, you get to choose where you go. So part of it is also them trying to give him a level of comfort with them as well, where he goes, okay, I don't like it here. These guys are working with me. Do I really want to go somewhere else to be a practice squad guy instead? So
yeah.
We'll see what happens, but it's an interesting pickup there, because that's the kind of guy that I'm not going to sit there and say he's going to be a star. Let's be honest, the Panthers wouldn't have cut him if he's going to be a star. But that's the kind of guy you work with for a year on a practice squad, and you bring him back next year and you see what happens. We're talking about Deontay Johnson, how great he looked against the Lions and how great he looked in camp before he got hurt. That's the same scenario for him last year. Is you brought a guy in from a very small school, you worked with him for a year, gave him the best coaching he's got in his entire career, because, again, no knock on small schools, but they don't get the top coaches, obviously. And you give him a chance to see what he does next year. See if he surprises you. If he doesn't, you cut loose. Was nothing really lost there except a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Can't hurt you. So, now, you may be asking, wait a minute. We picked up someone? That means we had to drop someone, right? If we pick up Clayton Isbell, we had to drop somebody for the roster spot, right?
Pick things up, put them down.
That's what happens. Goodbye, Dennis Houston. Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Dennis Houston's been cut there. Again, he was on the practice squad last year with us. There was a former Cowboy as well prior to that. And I guess he came into a camp with a very uphill battle facing, trying to get onto this roster here with everybody who got on this. I mean, again, we talked about it. You got Wan'Dale Robinson, Malik Neighbors, Jalen Hyatt, Darius Slayton, Isaiah Hodgins, Allen Robinson, Isaiah McKenzie, Gunnar Olszewski. Like, how many receivers do you think we're going to keep, guys?
But 9 was not enough or too many?
I just named more than we're going to keep, I guarantee it.
100%.
So Dennis Houston didn't even make that list. So, yeah, they went ahead and cut him. He's been battling a hand injury much of camp as well, so that definitely didn't help him to kind of showcase his talents to prove he was better than any of those guys that we just talked about a moment ago. So I think they did him a favor, though, honestly, because you cut him now, and let's say your team needs a receiver. And again, I'm not expecting a team to go look at him as a savior for a bad wide receiver room or anything crazy like that. But let's say, like, you know what, we're a little thin at receiver. I could use another one towards the bottom roster kind of guy. Now Dennis Houston's available. And you'd rather sign a guy like that than just hope for the best in a week when people make the roster cuts. So they did him a favor, I think. I really think they did him a favor. I really do. I think that they kind of knew the writing was on the wall. They needed a player in their position. They probably went up to him and said just that. Like, listen, sorry, you're not going to make the roster. We can hold on to you for a week if you want, but if we do that, we're just going to end up cutting you next week anyway. Let's cut you loose now and give you a chance to make it somewhere else.
Yeah. And then the competitor, you're going to take that job.
Yeah. Or maybe I'm just making all that up in my head, but in my head, that's how it worked out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some sensibility to that train of thought. There really is. So I think that's probably how it did go down. So, guys, you know what we did? Rob, you failed at your job.
Oh, crap.
We went through all the damn topics, and we didn't do it. So we're going to have to do it back-to-back here at the end here. So let's start off with our contest.
Enter to win a Daniel Jones signed jersey. Simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@2giantgoofballs, and email a screenshot to 2giantgoofballs@mail.com to enter. Only one submission allowed per subscriber. Monthly subscribers at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs will get an additional 2 entries. Contest ends when the channel reaches 1,000 subscribers. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. This contest is not affiliated with the NFL, New York Giants, Daniel Jones, or any other person or company besides the 2 Giant Goofball podcast. Good luck to everyone.
Alrighty, guys. And there it is. Get it while you can. So, again, it's free to sign up, guys. Sign up. We're almost halfway to the total here, guys. So get in while you can. Let's pay the bills real quick.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
Alrighty, guys. So that ends this episode here for you, since we ended on a bad note. Since Rob forgot to remind me, I think I'm blaming you.
Oh my!
I didn't do. I deflect. I supervise.
Nice.
But
we're not a union here. What are you doing here?
For a union, I'd be getting paid a lot more. By the way, buymeacoffee.com.
Please help out.
But guys, listen, I'll keep an eye tomorrow. Like, we'll be back at 9:00 p.m. there. That's our Thursday night episode. We're going to talk all things Jets, Giants. For those of you guys who might watch some of the reports that were going on today, yeah, it wasn't a very good day for the Giants. Sauce Gardner was talking trash afterwards, kind of disrespecting Daniel Jones a little publicly. So we'll talk about all that kind of stuff there tomorrow. So if you haven't already, guys, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share. That's how you know we got a new show coming on here, guys. As always, we are available live Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and of course, Rob's favorite. Oh yes,
LinkedIn.
And listen, guys, we'll probably start Twitter again soon. I keep talking about it. Part of me really just doesn't want to pay Elon Musk his blood money that he wants for us to go ahead and stream. That's just a little ridiculous to me. So we'll see what we do.
God, it's worth billions of dollars to be fine.
And he's our $11 a month for us to stream. It's a principle thing. I get stuck on principles. I admit it for really. And maybe we'll start up on Instagram soon again too. We really probably should. It's just a pain in the butt to set it up. Let us know in the comments if you want us to go on Instagram and Twitter and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that's how we'll decide if it's worth us paying the money for Twitter and the headache it is to go live onto Instagram as well. So let us know in the comments there if you would like us to be on Twitter and Instagram again for streaming there, guys. So keep in mind, we're also always available the next day on the audio podcast platform when Rob remembers to put it up.
Sorry about
the rough ending here for you, Rob.
All right, I'm going to go. It's
nice
talking you guys.
Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Pandora, all the big ones, guys. So again, hit the like, hit the subscribe in there as well. Apple Podcast is probably our biggest one, guys. If you listen to us on there, do a favor. Leave a review as well. Not just the 5-star thing, which I'm sure you already would because we're spectacular. We're too modest to say it, but we are spectacular. But give a little review as well there because it really does help with that as well. So appreciate you guys for listening in as always, Giant fans. And of course, as always, go Giants!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.